Dr. Zethkar moved her 4 eyes closer to the glowing screen. The blue light made her gray skin look almost silver in the dark lab. She had been studying alien creatures for over 30 years, but nothing had ever confused her like this. The human lay sleeping on the metal table behind her. He looked so ordinary, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, brown hair that fell across his closed eyes. His name was Marcus Chun, and he came from a small blue planet called Earth. The ship had picked him up 3 weeks ago during a routine collection mission. At first, Zethkar thought humans were just another simple species. They had no space travel beyond their own moon. They fought wars with metal weapons instead of energy beams. Their cities were made of stone and glass instead of living crystal. By galactic standards, they were babies, but their DNA told a different story. Zethkar pressed a button on her control panel. The air above her desk shimmered and a 3-dimensional image appeared. It looked like a twisted ladder made of light spinning slowly in the air. This was human DNA, but it was unlike anything she had ever seen. Most species had DNA that was like a simple instruction book. It told cells how to make skin, bones, and organs. Human DNA was different. It was like finding a library where most of the books were locked shut. She zoomed in on one section of the spinning DNA model. Her translator device crackled as she spoke to herself in amazement. The genetic code here could make muscles 3 times stronger than they currently were. But these instructions were turned off. Sleeping like everything else about this strange species. Another section caught her attention. She expanded it with a wave of her hand. This part of the code could make the brain work faster than the most advanced computers on our homeworld. But again, it was inactive. Waiting, her assistant, Krelvan, walked into the lab carrying a steaming cup of nutrient broth. His 3 arms moved in the traditional greeting gesture of their people. "Any progress with the primitive, Doctor?" he asked. Zethkar turned to look at him. Her main eyes focused on his face while her side eyes kept watching the DNA display. "Krelvan, look at this," she said. She pointed at the floating genetic model. "Tell me what you see." The younger scientist set down his cup and studied the display. His skin changed from its normal green to a confused purple color. "The structure is very complex," he said slowly. "More complex than our own DNA? But that cannot be right. These humans barely know how to use fire properly." "That is exactly what troubles me," Zethkar replied. She called up another section of the genetic code. "Look here. This sequence could allow their cells to heal from almost any injury. And here, this part could let them survive in space without protection. This section could make them live for thousands of years instead of their current 100. Krelvan's skin turned bright orange with shock. "But doctor, if they have all this potential, why do they seem so weak? Why do they die so easily? Why have they not conquered their galaxy by now?" Zethkar touched the control panel again. The DNA model rotated faster, showing layer after layer of unused genetic material. "Because it is all turned off?" she whispered. "Someone designed them to be incredibly powerful, but then locked away that power. It is as if they are machines running on the lowest possible setting." She walked over to the sleeping human. Marcus Chin breathed slowly and peacefully. His heartbeat showed steady green lines on the monitoring equipment. He looked completely harmless. "I need to run more tests," she said. "Wake up Commander Veltanos. He needs to see this." 20 minutes later, Commander Veltanos stood in the lab. His tall, thin body cast long shadows under the bright lights. His species had ruled this sector of space for over 5,000 years. Very few things surprised him anymore. But the human DNA display made his normally calm face show worry. "Show me again," he ordered. Zethkar brought up section after section of the genetic code. Each part revealed new potential that lay sleeping in human cells. The ability to see across the entire light spectrum, reflexes that could react faster than laser fire, intelligence that could solve problems no other species had even thought of yet. "How much of their genetic material is like this?" the commander asked. "Over 60%, Zethkar replied. "Most species use 90% of their DNA just to stay alive. Humans use only 40% for basic functions. The rest is all Locked away potential. Commander Veltanos was quiet for a long moment. He studied the sleeping human with new interest. Doctor, in your professional opinion, what would happen if this genetic material became active? Zethkar felt a chill run through her body. She had been asking herself the same question for hours. Based on what I see here, they would become the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Their physical abilities would surpass our best soldiers. Their mental capabilities would exceed our greatest thinkers. They would be living weapons, but they are not active now? No, Commander. Everything is dormant, sleeping. It is as if someone built the perfect biological weapon but left it in training mode. The commander moved closer to Marcus Chun. The human's face was peaceful in sleep. He had no idea that beings from across the galaxy were studying him like a puzzle they could not solve. Doctor, I want you to run every test you can think of. Find out what triggers this genetic activation. Find out who designed them this way. And most importantly, find out if we can control it. As Commander Veltanos left the lab, Zethkar looked back at her screens. The human DNA continued to spin in its holographic display, full of secrets that both fascinated and terrified her. She began planning new experiments. Stress tests to see if pressure would wake up the sleeping genes. Chemical treatments to try to activate different sections. Physical challenges to test the limits of human endurance. What she did not know was that Marcus Chun had been awake for the last 10 minutes. His breathing had stayed perfectly steady, and his heartbeat had not changed at all. But behind his closed eyes, his mind was recording every word the aliens had spoken. Deep in his cells, something ancient was beginning to stir. The genetic locks that had kept humanity sleeping for thousands of years were starting to loosen. Not because of anything the alien scientists planned to do to him, but because he now knew what he really was. The first lock clicked open in his DNA, so quietly that the monitoring equipment did not even notice. Then another, and another. Marcus Chiang continued to breathe peacefully as his body began to remember what it had been designed to do. Marcus Chen opened his eyes slowly. The ceiling above him was made of smooth white metal that seemed to glow with its own light. He had never seen anything like it before. The last thing he remembered was walking home from work in San Francisco. Now he was lying on a table in what could only be an alien spaceship. Most people would have panicked. Marcus felt surprisingly calm. His mind was clear and focused in a way that felt both new and familiar. He sat up carefully and looked around. The room. The space was larger than he had expected. Strange machines lined the walls, covered in lights that blinked in patterns he somehow understood meant they were monitoring his body. Through a window made of some kind of energy field, he could see stars moving past. He was definitely not on Earth anymore. Dr. Zethkar watched Marcus from the observation room next door. She had been studying his vital signs all morning, waiting for him to wake up. When his eyes finally opened, his heart rate had barely changed. No panic response, no stress hormones flooding his system. It was as if waking up on an alien ship was the most normal thing in the world. Interesting, she said to Krelvin, who was taking notes on a glowing tablet. Most species we study show extreme fear responses when they first wake up in captivity. This human seems almost prepared. Marcus stood up from the table and stretched. His muscles felt different somehow. Stronger, more responsive. He walked to the energy window and placed his hand against it. The barrier felt warm and hummed with power. "Hello," he said, looking directly at where he somehow knew the observation window was hidden. "I know you are watching me. My name is Marcus Chung. I would like to speak with whoever is in charge." Zethkar's 4 eyes widened in surprise. The observation window was supposed to be invisible from inside the containment room. No other test subject had ever detected it. "How did he know we were here?" Krelvin asked. "I have no idea," Zethkar replied. She activated the communication system. Her words came through a speaker in Marcus's room, translated into English by the ship's computer. "Hello, Marcus Chun. I am Dr. Zethkar. You are aboard our research vessel." "We mean you no harm. We are simply studying your species." Marcus nodded. as if this explanation made perfect sense. I understand. You found something unusual about human DNA, didn't you? Something that made you want to look closer? The alien scientist felt her skin grow cold. There was no way this primitive creature could know about their genetic discoveries unless— How do you know about our research? She asked. Marcus smiled. It was not a threatening expression, but it made Zethkar nervous anyway. I have been listening to your conversations. Your translation devices work both ways. I've learned quite a bit about your people and your technology while I was pretending to sleep. Krelvin dropped his tablet. It clattered on the floor of the observation room. He was awake. For how long? Long enough, Marcus said, somehow hearing the assistant's question through the supposedly soundproof barrier. Long enough to know that you think I am some kind of weapon. Long enough to know that my DNA contains secrets you want to unlock. Dr. Zethkar made a decision that would change everything. She activated the test protocol she had been planning. If this human was already showing unusual abilities, she needed to find out exactly what he was capable of. Marcus, she said through the speaker, we would like to run some tests. Simple challenges to measure your physical and mental capabilities. Will you cooperate? Of course, Marcus replied. I am curious about these capabilities myself. The first test was a basic puzzle. A holographic cube appeared in the air in front of Marcus. It had complex patterns on each face that needed to be rotated into the correct alignment. Most species took several hours to solve it. The smartest individuals could do it in 30 minutes. Marcus studied the cube for exactly 12 seconds. Then he began rotating the sections with quick, precise movements. The patterns aligned perfectly in under 2 minutes. Run the next test, Zethkar ordered. A new challenge appeared. This time it was a 3-dimensional maze that Marcus had to navigate mentally. He would need to remember every turn and dead end without being able to see the full structure. The maze had over 10,000 possible paths. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, he began describing the correct route from memory. Turn left, straight for 50 meters, right, up 1 level, left again. He navigated the entire maze without making a single mistake. How is this possible? Krelvin whispered. His brain activity is increasing, Zethkar said, watching her monitors. But not in the way we would expect. It is as if new neural pathways are forming in real time. The tests continued for hours. Each challenge was harder than the last. Mathematical problems that required advanced computer systems to solve. Pattern recognition exercises that tested the limits of perception. Strategic scenarios that would challenge military commanders with decades of experience. Marcus passed every test. More than that, he seemed to get better with each challenge. His responses became faster and more precise. His understanding of the alien technology deepened with every interaction. I want to try the physical tests now, Commander Veltano said, as he entered the observation room. He had been watching the mental exercises with growing concern. Sir, are you sure that is wise? Zethkar asked. His cognitive improvements are already beyond anything we have seen. If his physical abilities follow the same pattern, then we need to know exactly what we are dealing with, the commander interrupted. Activate the training room. The walls of Marcus's containment area began to shift and change. The smooth white surfaces transformed into a complex obstacle course. Barriers to climb over, gaps to jump across, targets to hit with energy beams. It was the same course their elite soldiers used for training. Marcus looked at the course with interest. His body felt different than it had that morning. His muscles were denser, more responsive. His reflexes seemed faster. His balance was perfect, even though he had never felt this strong before. This looks fun, he said. He started running. His speed was far beyond what any human should have been capable of. He leaped over barriers that were 3 meters tall. He balanced on beams that were only centimeters wide. When energy targets appeared, he dodged them with movements that seemed to predict where they would fire before they actually shot. But the most disturbing thing was not how well he performed. It was how much he was improving as he ran. His jumping got higher, his reflexes got faster. His body was adapting to the challenges in real time. His cellular structure is changing, Zethkar reported, staring at her scanners in disbelief. His muscle fibers are becoming more efficient. His nervous system is processing information faster. It is as if the physical stress is activating dormant genetic programs. Marcus finished the obstacle course in half the time of their best soldiers. He was not even breathing hard. When he stopped, he looked up at the observation window again. "That was just the beginning, wasn't it?" he asked. "You want to see what else I can do?" Commander Veltano stepped closer to the microphone. "What are you, Marcus-chun?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. Deep inside his cells, he could feel more genetic locks opening. Memories that were not his own were starting to surface. Knowledge of technologies and civilizations he had never seen. "I am starting to remember," he said softly. "We are not what you think we are, and neither are you." The monitoring equipment began flashing warnings as Marcus's vital signs changed again. Whatever was happening to him was accelerating. The alarm started as a soft beeping sound. Marcus was running on what the aliens called a fitness machine, something like the treadmills he knew from Earth but far more advanced. The machine could change gravity, air pressure, and even the temperature. Around him, while he ran, Dr. Zethkar watched her monitors with growing worry. Marcus had been running for 2 hours straight at speeds that should have killed any normal human. His heart was beating so fast that her equipment could barely track it. But instead of collapsing, he seemed to be getting stronger. "His heart rate is at 400 beats per minute, Krelvan reported, his voice shaking. "That should be impossible. His heart should have exploded by now." "Look at the cellular scans," Zethkar replied, pointing at another screen. "His heart muscle is changing. The fibers are becoming denser and more efficient. His blood is carrying more oxygen than should be possible. His body is rewriting itself while he runs." Marcus felt the changes happening inside him. His lungs were pulling more air with each breath. His muscles were using energy in ways they never had before. Most strange of all, he could sense things around him that he had never noticed. The electrical fields from the alien machines, the vibrations in the ship's hull, even the thoughts and emotions of the scientists watching him. The soft alarm became louder. Red lights began flashing throughout the research facility. "What is happening?" Commander Veltanos demanded as he rushed into the observation room. "The human's genetic structure is destabilizing," Zethkar said, her 4 eyes moving rapidly between different displays. "No, not destabilizing, reorganizing. Large sections of his DNA that were inactive are suddenly coming online." On the screens, they could see Marcus's genetic code changing in real time. Sequences that had been locked for what looked like thousands of years were opening like flowers in sunlight. Each new activation brought abilities that should not exist in any natural creature. Marcus stopped running. The machine slowed to a halt beneath his feet. He turned to look at the observation window, and for the first time since waking up, his expression was not calm. There was something ancient and powerful looking out through his eyes. "I remember now," he said, his voice carrying new harmonics. That made the aliens' translation devices struggle to keep up. "I remember who made us. I remember why we were hidden." "Marcus," Dr. Zethkar said through the speaker, trying to keep her voice steady. "What do you remember?" "We call them the Forerunners," Marcus replied. He walked closer to the energy barrier that separated him from the aliens. As he approached, the barrier began to flicker and spark. "You call them the Ancient Ones. They built us to be guardians of this galaxy. But we were not ready. We were too young, too violent, too eager to fight." The barriers around Marcus's containment area were failing. Energy fields that could hold the strongest creatures in known space were shutting down one by one as he came near them. "So they locked away our abilities," Marcus continued. "They hid us on a small planet at the edge of space and let us grow up slowly. They wanted us to learn wisdom before we learned power." Commander Veltanos activated the ship's defense systems. Heavy blast doors began closing around the research facility. Weapon systems came online throughout the vessel. "But you woke us up too early," Marcus said, and there was sadness in his voice now. "We have the power, but we are still learning the wisdom. That makes us very dangerous. The genetic activation was spreading beyond Marcus. In holding cells throughout the ship, other human specimens were beginning to change. Sarah Martinez, a teacher from Mexico, suddenly understood how to interface directly with alien computer systems. James Park, an engineer from Korea, found himself able to see and manipulate electromagnetic fields with his bare hands. Maria Silva, a doctor from Brazil, discovered she could heal injuries by touch and accelerate her own cellular regeneration. "Oh, humans?" Sethkar whispered in horror. "All of them are activating at once." The ship's computer systems began reporting impossible readings. Energy signatures that matched no known technology were appearing throughout the vessel. The human specimens were not just changing physically. They were somehow connecting to and controlling alien technology through methods that violated every law of physics the aliens understood. Marcus placed his hand against the energy barrier one more time. This time, instead of flickering, it simply vanished. The wall that had kept him contained dissolved like mist. "I do not want to hurt you," he said as he stepped out of his cell. "None of us do. But we cannot let you keep us here any longer." Security forces poured into the research facility. They carried weapons that could cut through starship hulls and armor that could withstand direct hits from plasma cannons. They surrounded Marcus with military precision. Marcus looked at them with something like pity. "You still do not understand what you are dealing with." He moved faster than their eyes could track. One moment he was standing in the center of their formation. The next, every weapon in the room had been disassembled and their components scattered across the floor. The soldiers had not been harmed, but their equipment was completely destroyed. "How did he do that?" one of the security officers asked, staring at the pieces of his weapon. "He did not just move quickly," Sethkar said, studying her scanners. "He manipulated time around himself. He slowed down everything else while he moved. At normal speed, that should be impossible." Throughout the ship, similar scenes were playing out. The awakened humans were not fighting their captors so much as making the concept of captivity meaningless. Walls could not hold them. Weapons could not hurt them. Technology could not control them. Sarah Martinez walked through solid metal barriers as if they were air. James Park disabled the ship's power systems with a thought and then restored them when the lights went out. Maria Silva healed the injuries of alien crew members who had been hurt during the security response, demonstrating abilities that their most advanced medical technology could not match. "They are not trying to escape," Commander Veltanos realized. "They are taking control of the ship." "Not taking control," Marcus corrected, appearing in the observation room though no one had seen him enter. The security doors had not opened. He had simply stepped through the wall itself. "We are showing you what we are capable of. We want you to understand what your experiments have unleashed." The alien officers backed away from him, but Marcus made no threatening moves. He looked tired and sad, like someone carrying a burden too heavy for his shoulders. "We were supposed to have another 1,000 years to mature as a species," he said. "Another 1,000 years to learn how to use these abilities responsibly? You have given us godlike power while we still have the emotions and impulses of children. What do you want from us?" Dr. Sethkar asked. Marcus looked at her with eyes that now seemed to hold the weight of ages. "We want to go home. We want to warn our people about what is coming. Because if you could accidentally activate our genetic programming, others can do it on purpose. And then?" Commander Veltanos asked. "Then we prepare for war," Marcus said, quietly, "because there are things in this galaxy that our creators were trying to protect everyone from. Things that we were designed to fight, and now, ready or not, we are awake." Dr. Sethkar found herself alone with Marcus Chun in the main research laboratory. The other aliens had fled when the humans began demonstrating abilities that defied every law of physics they knew. Security forces had retreated after their weapons proved useless. Even Commander Veltanos had withdrawn to the bridge to figure out what to do next, but Sethkar stayed. As a scientist, she needed to understand what was happening. Even if it terrified her, Marcus stood near the holographic display that still showed his DNA structure. The genetic code was changing so rapidly now that the computer could barely keep up with the transformations. Entire sections that had been dormant for millennia were lighting up like stars being born. "You are not afraid of me," Marcus observed. His voice had changed again. It now carried harmonics that seemed to resonate with frequencies she recognized. "From deep space communications?" "Why? Because I need to know," Zethkar replied honestly. "I have studied life forms from across the galaxy for 30 years. Nothing I have learned explains what you are becoming. If I run away now, I will never understand." Marcus smiled, and for a moment he looked like the simple human they had captured weeks ago. "You remind me of my sister. She was a scientist too. Always asking questions, even when the answers might be dangerous." "Was?" Zethkar asked. "I do not know if she is still alive," Marcus said quietly. "The memories that are returning to me show possible futures, not current events. In some of them, Earth survives what is coming. In others, it does not." He turned to face the DNA display. With a gesture, he made it expand until the genetic structure filled the entire room. Zethkar gasped as she saw the full complexity of what they had been studying. The active DNA was just the beginning. There were layers upon layers of genetic programming that were still locked away. "This is what we really are," Marcus said. "Not the primitive humans you found on Earth. We are biological machines designed by the most advanced civilization this galaxy has ever known. We were built to be the ultimate soldiers, explorers, and protectors, the forerunners," Zethkar whispered. "But they disappeared millions of years ago. How could they have created your species so recently?" "Time works differently when you can manipulate space itself," Marcus explained. "The forerunners did not disappear. They transcended to a higher level of existence. But before they left, they saw what was coming for this galaxy. They knew that someone would need to stand guard. When they were gone." Sarah Martinez walked through the wall into the laboratory. Her appearance was startling. She no longer looked entirely human. Her skin had a slight shimmer to it, and her eyes glowed with inner light. When she moved, reality seemed to bend around her. "The ship's computer systems are under our control," she reported. "James has figured out how to interface with their navigation systems. Maria is in the medical bay learning how their healing technology works. We can leave whenever you are ready." "Leave for where?" Zethkar asked. "Earth first," Sarah replied. "We need to warn our people and begin the awakening process properly. The random activation you triggered here is dangerous. People need to be prepared mentally and emotionally before their genetic locks are opened." Marcus nodded. "Sarah is right. What happened to us here was an accident. We were activated by stress and fear instead of wisdom and understanding. That makes us unstable, powerful, but unpredictable." More humans began entering the laboratory. They came through walls, through closed doors, through solid floors. Each one looked different than they had when first captured. Their bodies had adapted and evolved in ways that should have taken millions of years. But more than their physical changes, there was something ancient and knowing in their eyes. "We remember more now," said James Park, the engineer. "The Forerunners left us detailed instructions locked in our genetic memory. We know how to build the technologies we will need. We know where to find the resources and allies that will help us. Most importantly," added Maria Silva, "we know what we are supposed to fight." Zethkar felt her skin grow cold. "What are you supposed to fight?" Marcus manipulated the holographic display again. The DNA structure disappeared, replaced by star charts that showed the entire galaxy, but these were not current star maps. They showed the galaxy as it would be in the future. Large sections of space were marked in red. Entire star systems were gone, replaced by something that hurt to look at directly. Black regions that seemed to consume light itself were spreading across the galaxy like an infection. "The Devourers," Marcus said simply. "They come from the space between galaxies. They consume matter, energy, even time itself. The Forerunners fought them once before and barely managed to drive them back. But they are returning, and this time they are stronger. When? Zethkar asked, though she was not sure she wanted to know the answer. Soon, Sarah replied. The activation of our genetic programming is not random. It only happens when the galaxy faces an existential threat. The fact that we are awakening now means the Devourers are already on their way. The laboratory began to shake as the ship's engines came online. But it was not the alien crew starting the engines. James had taken control of the vessel's systems and was preparing to leave. We cannot let you take our ship, Commander Veltano said as he appeared on the communication screen. Surrender now and we will treat you fairly. Marcus looked at the screen with something like sympathy. Commander, you still do not understand. We are not stealing your ship. We are borrowing it to save your civilization and everyone else's. With a thought, Marcus opened a direct communication channel to every system on the ship. When he spoke, his voice reached every alien on board simultaneously. People of the Galactic Research Vessel Synthesis, he said. We know this is frightening. We know our abilities seem impossible. But we are not your enemies. We are trying to prevent something much worse than anything you can imagine. Through the ship's sensors, Marcus projected images of the Devourers into every room. The aliens saw creatures of pure destruction that could consume entire star systems in hours. They saw fleets of ships that existed partially outside normal space, making them nearly impossible to fight with conventional weapons. This is what the Forerunners were preparing us to face, Marcus continued. This is why they gave us abilities that seem like magic to other species. Because normal weapons and normal soldiers cannot fight enemies like this. Dr. Zethkar looked at the images. With growing horror, how long do we have? Based on the rate of our genetic activation, perhaps 50 years, Maria replied. Maybe less. The awakening process will accelerate as more humans are activated. Each new awakened human makes it easier for others to awaken. 50 years too. Prepare an entire galaxy for war against enemies that destroyed the most advanced civilization in known history, James added. It will not be easy. The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel. Through the windows, Zethkar could see the stars stretching into lines as they headed toward Earth. The human homeworld was 3 weeks away at maximum speed. What will you do when you reach Earth? She asked. Marcus was quiet for a moment, accessing genetic memories that were still unfurling in his mind. We will begin the Great Awakening, he said finally. Every human on Earth and throughout their scattered colonies will be activated. Not all at once, but carefully with proper preparation. We will teach them what they are and what they need to do, and then we start building the greatest war machine this galaxy has ever seen, Sarah said. Ships that can fight in multiple dimensions. Weapons that can destroy matter at the quantum level. Soldiers who can think faster than computers and survive in the vacuum of space. We will also try to wake up other species, Marcus added. The Forerunners left genetic triggers in many races, though none as advanced as ours. Everyone will need to evolve if we are going to survive what is coming. As the ship hurtled through space toward Earth, Zethkar realized that everything was about to change. The galaxy she had known, with its ancient civilizations and established order, was ending. A new age was beginning. An age of war, evolution, and powers beyond imagination, and it was all starting with a species that everyone had thought was primitive. 6 months after the humans escaped from the research vessel, Dr. Zethkar stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council. The Great Assembly Hall could hold representatives from over 10,000 species, but today it felt cramped and tense. Everyone wanted answers about what the humans had become. Zethkar looked out at the sea of alien faces. Some had scales, some had fur, some were made of living crystal. All of them were afraid. The reports coming in from across the galaxy were beyond anything they had imagined possible. Honored delegates, she began, her voice carried by translation. Devices to every corner of the hall. I have spent the last 6 months studying what the humans call the Great Awakening. What I have learned will change how we understand life itself. She activated the massive holographic display above the assembly. Images appeared showing human colonies that had not existed a year ago. Cities built with technology that seemed to grow from the ground itself. Ships that moved faster than anything in the known galaxy. The humans have returned to Earth and begun awakening their entire species, Zethkar continued. But they are not doing it randomly. They have created centers around their planet where individuals can be safely activated over several weeks. The process is careful and controlled. A delegate from the Krillian Empire stood up. His 6 arms gestured angrily as he spoke. Doctor, our ships report that human colonies are appearing in star systems that were empty last month. They are expanding faster than our fastest scouts can travel. This is an invasion. No, Zethkar replied firmly. It is preparation. Every new colony they build serves a specific purpose in their war against the Devourers. They are not taking territory from other species. They are building infrastructure to defend the galaxy. She changed the display to show detailed scans of human technology. The assembled delegates murmured in amazement and fear as they saw ships that could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, weapons that could destroy matter at the atomic level, and shields that seemed to bend space itself. Their technology is beyond our understanding, she admitted. But more importantly, they are sharing it. Every species that agrees to help in the coming war receives access to human improvements. Medical advances that cure diseases we thought incurable. Engineering techniques that make our ships faster and stronger. Agricultural methods that can feed entire worlds with minimal resources. Commander Veltanos, who had been invited to speak as a witness, stepped forward. The humans took control of my ship without firing a single shot, but they did not keep it. After reaching Earth, they returned it to us with improvements we never could have imagined. Our engines are now twice as efficient. Our computers process information 10 times faster. Even our food tastes better because they upgraded our nutritional systems. An elegant delegate from the Etherian collective floated forward. Her energy-based form shimmered as she spoke. But surely their rapid expansion threatens the established order. What happens to our governments, our trade agreements, our carefully balanced territories? Marcus Chan materialized in the center of the assembly hall. He had not used the doors or any transportation device. One moment the space was empty, the next he was standing there. Several delegates jumped back in alarm, but Marcus made no threatening moves. Nothing happens to your governments unless you want it to, he said, his voice somehow reaching every delegate without translation devices. We are not interested in ruling anyone. We are interested in making sure everyone survives what is coming. His appearance had changed since the research vessel. He still looked human, but there was something more now. His presence filled the room with calm authority. When he spoke, even the most powerful beings in the galaxy found themselves listening. The Devourers will arrive in 47 years, Marcus continued. We have been using our time to prepare defenses and wake up sleeping potential in other species. The Forerunners did not just experiment on humans. They left genetic improvements in many races, waiting for the right time to activate them. Zethkar nodded and brought up new data. We have confirmed this through genetic analysis of multiple species. The improvements are subtle but significant. Enhanced reflexes, better pattern recognition, increased resistance to radiation and disease. The humans can help activate these improvements safely. What proof do we have that these Devourers even exist? Demanded a delegate from the warrior clans of Vorthek. Perhaps this is an elaborate deception to make us dependent on human technology. Marcus raised his hand, and the air in the assembly hall shimmered. Suddenly, every delegate could see images that came directly from his genetic memory. The last war between the Forerunners and the Devourers fought millions of years ago across thousands of star systems. Entire worlds consumed in minutes. Fleets of ships that existed partially outside normal reality, immune to conventional weapons. The images were so vivid and terrifying that several delegates had to leave the hall. Those who remained sat in stunned silence. This is what we face, Marcus said quietly. The Forerunners barely won the last time, and they were far more advanced than any current civilization. That is why they created us. That is why they hid us until the galaxy would need us most. Sarah Martinez appeared beside Marcus. Like him, she had evolved beyond normal human appearance. Her eyes held depths that seemed to contain star maps, and when she moved, space itself seemed to ripple around her. "We have begun training programs for other species," she announced. "Volunteers from your militaries can learn to use enhanced technologies and awakened abilities. We have also started construction projects that will benefit everyone." The display changed to show massive structures being built in deep space. Ring-shaped stations larger than most moons designed to coordinate defenses across multiple star systems. Weapons platforms that could destroy entire fleets while remaining hidden in higher dimensions. "These defense networks will protect your worlds," Marcus explained. "But they require cooperation between species that have been enemies for centuries. The Devourers do not care about your old conflicts. They will consume everyone equally." "Doctor," Zethkar stepped forward again, "I have seen what happens when species work with the humans instead of fighting them. The Zelanthi Republic agreed to joint military exercises 6 months ago. Their soldiers can now survive in environments that would have killed them before. Their ships can travel routes through space that cut travel time by 70%. But what happens after the war?" asked a delegate from the Peaceful Worlds Alliance. "If we help you build this war machine, what prevents you from using it against us when the Devourers are defeated?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his words carried the weight of absolute truth. "Because fighting the Devourers will change us," he said. "The humans who survive this war will not be the same species that started it. We will become something beyond current understanding, just as the Forerunners did. And like them, we will eventually transcend to a higher level of existence." "You will leave us?" Zethkar asked, though she had suspected this might be the final outcome. "Not abandon," Sarah corrected. "Graduate. Just as the Forerunners left genetic improvements in many species, we will leave gifts for those who come after us. New technologies, enhanced abilities, knowledge that will help the galaxy grow beyond what any of us can imagine now." The assembly hall was completely silent as the delegates absorbed this information. The choice before them was clear. They could resist the humans and face the Devourers alone, or they could join a transformation that would reshape the entire galaxy. "How long do we have to decide?" asked the Krillian delegate. "You have already decided," Marcus replied with a gentle smile. "By asking that question, by listening to our explanation, by staying in this room instead of fleeing in fear. You have chosen to fight for the future instead of clinging to the past." One by one, delegates began standing. Not to leave, but to show their agreement. Species that had never trusted each other were united by something larger than their old conflicts. The training phase was truly over. The real work was about to begin. And for the first time since learning about the Devourers, Dr. Zethkar felt hope the galaxy would survive. It would be transformed beyond recognition, but it would survive. The humans had been designed to save everyone, and they were just getting started.